Good morning to all Shipwreck pupils and parents. Three good things. It is the penultimate week of term, and you have done so well getting to this point. The sun is still shining, and it is also Wellbeing Week. This afternoon, we have Be Kind, a small gesture of kindness to someone. Then be prayerful, be creative, be calm, be you, be still, be mindful, be active. 20 minutes this Friday morning with Mr. Motivator. I am more absurdly looking forward to that than a grown man should be. And finally, be free on Friday afternoon. But we kick off the week with Be Inspired. And who better to set us off on our Wellbeing Week than one of Shiplake's Olympic gold medal winners, Will Satch. Will won bronze in the men's 4 in London 2012 and then stroked the men's 8 to a memorable victory at Rio Olympics in 2016. He's also won 3 successive World Championship titles. And of course, Will's mum is our own Miss Satch in the DT department. So good morning to you, Will.
Morning, Søren. How are you doing?
Very well, thank you. Now, the beard, is the beard a lockdown beard, or do you normally?
No, it's been going some time. It's some people say it's a form of laziness, but it keeps my chin warm, so it's been staying. Sometimes I cut it down a little bit if I want to go a little bit faster, but it usually stays to give me a little bit more definition, I think.
Well, tell me, how has lockdown been for you, and how has it affected the normal way that you would train?
Look, it's lockdown's affected us massively, especially within the British rowing sort of team. I've been extremely lucky. Obviously, my fiance is a doctor, so she's been working full time, and it's actually given me the opportunity to just operate like normal. So I make sure that I get up first thing in the morning with her, get a coffee in, and then get on with the day. And it means that I'm still productive. You know, I'm still training on my own in the shed on a machine, and it can be quite daunting every day to go back down and do it again, and very, very boring and monotonous. But, you know, such is life. And for me, getting up with her means that I can get on with my day and have structure. I think without structure, I've found life can be really quite difficult. And especially, I remember the first week, second week into lockdown, it's very easy to, you know, start getting up later and later. Before you know it, it's sort of gone 10 o'clock, and, you know, then half your day's gone. So, I mean, I owe a lot of respect to her, just the fact that she's getting up and doing, you know, working for the NHS. But selfishly, it really does help me. So I'm kind of just sort of clinging on to that. At the same time, it is really tough, you know. There's a lot of people out there that have got it a lot tougher than me. So I like to sort of look at that as well, you know.
It's interesting because the deputy head pastoral here, Mr. Brown, and he's been stressing to the pupils all along just about the importance of routine, and that being a key aspect of managing oneself through lockdown, and also, you know, managing your sleep and just the normal. Keeping the normality of life. And we've been trying to, you know, run assembly and thought for the day and chapel services. Just that routine. What is your normal routine in terms of starting in the morning and just getting yourself going?
In lockdown?
Yeah, in lockdown, and also just in general, normal. If we were.
Yeah. So I think, like, in general, it's like I've been in it for 10 years, so it's such, you know, I can't. You know, it's really hard to fathom to start with the change that I had to make. You know, I'm normally punching out 200 kilometers a week. I get up at 6 in the morning, I go and train, and it's all set up. You're kind of following sheep almost. You're wrapped up in cotton wool a lot of the time when we're traveling around. This is before COVID, but now also now it feels like you're kind of doing that, but segregating it obviously by yourself. The regime that I've kind of put in place and I'm following is, you know, getting up with Zara when she gets up to go to work, having a morning coffee. It's really the simple things for me that seem to make me tick. And I know that that's quite common within a lot of athletes and businessmen, that, you know, if you change the small things, it can equate to quite a large problematic change further down the line. So keeping the normality is really crucial for me. And I know that that definitely helped me at school as well. As soon as I, found rowing or found that niche of sport that I fell in love with. But it's getting up, I'll go down and I'll train in the garage. I'll have a small breakfast, or sometimes actually nothing now, which isn't advised, but it sort of helps me when I'm getting older to keeping the weight off, as you know. I'll come back in, I'll have a second breakfast. I then do another cardio session, whatever that is. Obviously, it's very different to, the normality of being down at Caversham. It will consist of either a run, maybe back on the machine again, or some weights that I've got, again, down in the shed, sort of garden training. And then I've actually really got into wild swimming recently. And again, you need to be really careful when you're out there. I had a bit of a hairy moment at the weekend. So I won't be swimming at weekends again with everyone out in their boats. But I'm slowly building up the mileage. And for me, I'm really enjoying it because it's new. I haven't done anything that's not been out the realm of rowing or cycling for that long period of time. And being out there amongst it in the water reminds me that it's like the tranquility and the ease of sport, and it really does ease my mind. And I'm really, really enjoying that. So I'm building up the kilometers on that. The other day I swam. It sounds very extreme, but I was downstream. I swam from Henley to Marlow, and just couldn't get enough of it. Didn't feel that great the next day. I was quite tired, and it meant that I then had to change my program. But having the opportunity to do that because of COVID is actually a really positive sign, and a positive thing that I've really enjoyed. It's like slight change, but keeping my normal pattern and regime the same.
Well, just for clarity, you're going for a swim. Yeah. For most of us is a sort of a dip in the pool. For me, it's sort of 25 meters and 3 breaths and a 5-minute break. How far did you actually swim?
So it's just under 15 kilometers. But it is a wetsuit. It is downstream. But yeah, it's a long time in the water. But again, for me, it's finding that kind of, fight or flight pattern. And I really enjoy going down that road of pushing myself. And it gives me, I don't know, it's like, for me, it's a confidence thing. Showing that I can achieve and setting, it's very simple, but, setting small targets to achieve that big goal. And that's basically the pattern that I found at school. I then found coming into the national team. I then found, achieving my childhood dream of becoming Olympic champion, and, simple things now. There'll be guys out there, a lot of guys out there that can swim quicker than me, and then could do more mileage than me. But for me, it's those small steps, and they gather momentum, and the process. It's like it's being in that process that I really enjoy. And how lucky am I, that I can go out and do that. There's a lot of people out there I feel so sorry for that are, stuck in a flat in London with 3 kids and a dog. And, can you imagine? Like it's as much as we complain about COVID and how all these restrictions are happening, I feel incredibly lucky that I'm able to go out and do that.
I mean, it's interesting just listen to you just about the ability to push oneself and almost pain threshold, and just that sort of just mentality. It's just, I just wonder, when you were at Shipley, was it a case of people looked at you when you discovered rowing and said that this guy's going to go on and win an Olympic gold, or was it a case of just actually just being one of many rowers, but just then actually the attitude, and just relentless quest for improvement just was the thing that sort of brought you through the ranks and got you to the top?
No, absolutely. There's a lot of people out there in the media as well that will say that, oh no, it's just natural. You're just a natural talented athlete, and that's why you've achieved. And that's very, very wrong. I think actually a lot of sports stars, a lot of professionals really do have to work for it, and it's a misconceived thing in the public eye that actually you are the Michael Jordan, or you are Dio and Farrell, but actually you look into it and these guys train religiously, you know, it's, and that was me at school. I struggled, probably struggled with confidence a little bit. And I think, you know, underneath it was finding rowing that, it was an opportunity that was there. And for me, it was rowing. It can be, obviously it can be a number of things, but at school I was playing rugby and I had a lot of this sort of pent up aggression and I wouldn't be able to achieve that well in class. But then with rowing, for me, it was great. It sort of hid my ADHD. It meant that I could calm my mind. And, you know, before 7 in the morning, I felt like I'd achieved more than most people had in their day. And again, that might be a selfish thing that's in my head, but actually it then set me up throughout the day. I was then able to, you know, I was never academic, but then my academia got better. I could settle in classrooms, I could work harder. And before you know it, there's this upward trajectory. And it's like a never ending spiral, isn't it? As soon as you've got that positivity and you're aiming for something, it's a lot easier to achieve. I think the biggest thing for me that I found that was the difference from being at school is that when I was at school, I wasn't your most naturally gifted. I was a strong rugby player. I got a scholarship to Shiplake to play rugby. And I still really missed playing the sport. But I wasn't a decent rower. I lost everything for a good sort of 4 years. First year, we were really successful. And then we never really won anything the whole way through. And then coming out the other end, I never went to the junior worlds. I never achieved under 23, an under 23 world title. But the one thing I did have was grit and determination. And also I had really good backing. I had the school behind me. And it was having that belief behind me that really helped. Obviously it helps having a mother that was really competitive. And that goes hand in hand with the swimming. Obviously she swam the channel when she was 13. It's something I can't really ever sort of live up to. But, you know, having her support the whole way through that as well really, really helped me. And it made that transition, I guess, easier when I wasn't achieving. But actually, if I look back, it was the years of not winning that made me successful. It's very easy for people to go, oh yeah, but you've won 3 world championships and you're an Olympic champion. And obviously, like, my debut was at London and we medaled and it was all amazing. The most amazing like story, like, and something I'd be very happy to look back on when I'm very old and telling stories to my grandkids. But actually, if we really delve into it, it was the hard graft through the winter and the monotonous training when you're not winning that made me successful in the long run. And that's, I think, as a kid, it's really hard to see past, especially in this day and age. I feel lucky that social media wasn't around, because you have these instant gratifications of likes and followers on feeds and that's just Instagram and social media. But all this, I call it like tripe that's out there in the media. Like, I didn't really have to deal with that then because I had a Nokia, you know, and I'd come home and I'd take the dog out for a walk and I'd you know, with a stick. There was no looking on the internet and this constant you know, when you're comparing yourself constantly to the best. But I knew that I was striving for something decent, and I knew that maybe it was a long shot, but like the dream was always to go to the Olympics. And those hard graft 5 years made that. It definitely wasn't, you know, 2013, 14, 15 of that winning streak of when, you know, you get to that World Championship final and you're almost there to collect because you've put in the hard graft. And I think I owe a lot to the school for persevering with me, I think.
I mean, it's interesting as well, you know, actually the long-term plan of looking at it over, you know, a 5-year period. How do you actually, because that mentally, that's a long period of time to get your head around. How do you break that into smaller chunks and sort of smaller targets just to hit those, you know, to hit those points, you know, where when you hit them, you're still on that journey to where you want to be, whether it's in 2 or 3 or 4 years time?
So obviously, like with the Olympiad, it's all kind of set out in front of you. It's a 4-year cycle. So you've got, you know, people there, physiologists, psychologists, everyone there sort of backing you. And you've got when I came into the team, you've got this head coach that's obviously very successful. And for me, it was having trust in that, and trust that if I follow this program, and I might not get, you know, the results instantly, but knowing that it's worked in the past, and if I'm able to grind out every day and do it at my best, I'm going to get to my best. And I never knew that it was going to be, you know, Olympic medals and going to the World Championships. At school, it would have been trying to win, I don't know, it certainly wasn't where the guys are now trying to win the PE, or at schools, it would be trying to make a final, or, you know, you can go scale it all the way down. But for me at school, it's the same thing. It was just setting small goals to achieve this big target, and whatever that target is. You know, for me, it was at some points academically, it was trying to pass maths GCSE. You know, I really, really struggled with it, and it took me 3 times. But you know, you can, and then you can carry on down that road. And I really think you can really scale it all the way back. But like I said, being in the team, when you're on that pathway and you're winning, it's very easy because you've got that momentum behind you. But at school, it was definitely harder. But I think for me, it was easier in a way because I changed from rugby to rowing. I was a decent rugby player. You know, I'm not saying that I'd have played for England, but I was on the pathway. You know, I was trying to get into the Wasps Academy. I was playing Oxfordshire. I was doing sort of England schoolboy stuff. But then I stopped that, and I kind of had to prove. I felt that it's within myself because I'm ultra competitive, but I felt that I had to prove that actually I could do this rowing malarkey. You know, I wasn't the best. I wasn't the most gifted, but I was tall. I was lucky enough to have, you know, mum's athletic genes. And why not give it a go? Like, why not? I think that'd be the constant sort of question in my head.
And your first, I was reading up, your first sort of representation with the GB senior team was at London 2012. And, you know, I remember going down there as a sports fan, and just the razzmatazz and the excitement and the buzz of having the Olympics in London was just so exciting at the time. I mean, what was it like, 1, having an Olympics in London, 2, your first time with senior GB, and then 3, of course, going on to actually medal at our home Olympics?
I think, like, it's really hard to put into words. It was the most surreal experience of my life. It was definitely the most exciting time of my life, just because it was so new and so fresh and unexpected. You know, we look at that. Before I knew it, I'm on an Olympic stage, Olympic final with my best friend, and you're hunting down a medal. It came very thick and fast. I knew that I trusted this process that I was going down. Like we said, you can look all the way back to being back at school and, you know, 4 years prior to that. But it was absolutely amazing. And actually the experience it topped Rio, which a lot of people won't comprehend. And they're like, well, yeah, you won gold at Rio. But it's like, it's the process, and being at home Olympics is like a once in a lifetime. And it's something that, you know, there was a lot of other opportunities I could have gone down, you know, the scholarships to America and this and everything else. But actually, you know, hunting it down and having the grind and achieving that with, you know, my best friend, was just, the camaraderie you build is just unreal. And again, take it back to the winter before that, like, I had no idea that this was going to happen. But I threw myself into it and made sure that I gave my best. And the whole time I wasn't looking at, obviously the ultimate goal was to go to the Olympics that year, but it wasn't in my head at the time. It was to win the next trial, or to do the best on that ergo, you know, every single day. You follow this program, and it's not, all this data and analysis is collected, and it's like you're doing those 200K weeks, and all of it does add up to a whole. But it's, you know, you're not going to get the instant gratification straight away. you're going to be knackered. You're going to have DOMS every morning. You're going to get out of bed and you're not going to be able to put your socks on because your back is aching so bad. It's all those little things, but they do add up. I honestly believe, if you believe in yourself, I'm not saying that everyone will be able to become Olympic champion, because a lot of it is also just circumstance and having the luck of being around an amazing team and amazing people. But just giving it a go, I feel has given me so many life lessons, because I've thrown myself into it at the deep end and came out the other side, and it was great.
So you have almost like a life-changing experience at London, where you medal as a cub, you know, as a young man, and then go on to Rio, where you win the gold. How difficult is it? You know, Olympic gold medal is the sort of the Everest for an athlete. How difficult is it to come down from Everest afterwards once you've won that gold medal? You know, how do you get up in the morning and go back onto that erg to prepare for the next one or for the next big race after you've achieved, I mean, the absolute ultimate?
Yeah, look, I think I've been open about it before. I think it was one of the hardest times in my life, simply because you're up on the pedestal as well. It wasn't just how I feel, it's how you're expected to feel. You're expected to win, you're expected to come back, and you're expected to win again. Like I said before, I was lucky enough to be surrounded by guys in that boat that had achieved it before, and two of them had done it twice. So I owe a lot to sort of Pete and Andy for that. But it's tough. And then at the same time, when I was going through a bit of a hard time mentally, I would constantly think that, what am I whinging about? I'm a full-time funded athlete in the most amazing setup with supposedly the best Olympic coach or sports coach of all time, and I'm complaining. And I thought there was something wrong with me, and there obviously was. And that's when I sought a little bit of help, and it was, again, a really good thing to do at the time. Really hard, because you're coming off the back of being number one, and if we look at my results since, they haven't been as good. So it's a really bitter pill to swallow. But like I said, sport is cruel, and you never know when you're going to fade or you're going to fall off. And I'm still challenging myself to this day to try and do it again. And I'm not doing it to sort of prove a point, or because, you know, Reg has done it 5 times. I'm not going to go and beat that. But for me to get up every day, I need a focus. And if I don't have a focus, I find it really hard to get up. So my aim is to do it again. You know, it's very silly. I sort of had this conversation with my mum before, but I spend a lot of my time just trying to please this 70-year-old German man, which sounds very, very strange. But some of the things comes out of these small sort of pockets of just absolute classic rants. And some of them are absolutely amazing, you know. It's very simplified, because his English isn't amazing. But there was something that's really simple, and it's like, he doesn't say it's not everyone can win an Olympic challenge. He doesn't explain it like that, because it's German, so it's almost a bit backward. But he'll express it as though it's going again for your second. And being able to achieve it twice is a sign of a true champion. And I think that really sort of rung bells in my head when I was really struggling after that first year to come back and do it again. And how great would it be if, you know, I haven't had the most successful won a couple of bronzes here and there, but to actually achieve it without all that momentum leading in like last time, and to achieve it in a different way. You know, after London, it's very easy to set a goal to achieve gold because I've won bronze, or try and win silver because you're bettering yourself. But to win and then try and do it again is, I've found, harder, because a lot of people will question you. Why? You've done it. What's the point? But I am hungry for it. And, you know, despite all these injuries and elements, I want to go after it again, and it gives me motivation. It gives me a reason why, to get up every day.
It's interesting also just the role of your coach. I guess that, to a certain extent, that just comes down to trust. That when he gives you those small words of encouragement, or a bit of stick or a bit of carrot, that there's just an implicit trust there that he knows what that process is. And I think sometimes some of those the very best coaches, they may not say very much, but they just have a knack of saying the right thing at the right time with the right sort of tone to it, which just presses.
I think sometimes less said is better, just because it really does ring home more. It's similar to friends who will sort of F and Jeff a lot and run their mouth, and you just sort of end up not listening. I just end up sort of tuning out. Whereas there's similar things to a few teachers that I had at Shiplake. When Shane O'Brien was there, and obviously again another Olympic champion, and how awesome as a kid to grow up with someone who was my tutor that had been there and done what I want to do and want to achieve, and having that as a mentor through school is just absolutely incredible. But again, he wouldn't say, there's things where I'd misbehave slightly, as we all do sometimes, and he wouldn't even need to say something. It's almost just like a look of disappointment, and because you've got so much respect for that individual, it would really hurt. You'd be like, I'd be like this puppy, what have I done? And I have a very similar sort of affiliation with Jürgen, I think. It's also that sort of father figure that's there, who push you and push you and push you, but knows exactly when the right time is to almost give you that, tap on the shoulder. And he's there when you need him most.
Well, the first part of our well-being week is Be Inspired. Can we make this the interview with Will Satch part 1, and we will do a part 2 at some stage, because I'm sure it's really weird because obviously I can't see who's listening to this and the looks on their faces, but I could talk and listen to you for hours, because it's just so interesting, just the mental and physical processes that go on to actually get to that high level of performance. All I can say is thank you for joining us this morning. It has been a real, a proper insight into what it takes, and I think that the takeaway, as you say, not everybody can be an Olympic gold medal winner, but very often I say here, I think this is a personal best school, and actually the Shipwreck is to turn up with a positive attitude, to care about things, and to commit to things. And actually, if you can get those 3 things right, a lot of the bigger things just fall into place and happen naturally as a result of that. So thank you so much. Keep going. When you're on the erg or in the water, and you're maybe the question mark comes out, why? Trust me that the Shiplake is 100% behind you as well, and we're pulling with you as well. So thank you so much, Will, and have a brilliant week.
You too, guys. See ya.
Cheers. Thank you.